In which country in Latin America did Moffatt & Nichol have its first project, and who was the client?
I think our first project was actually in Chile. Had a small project down there, and I joined the company in 1995, and our first major project in Latin America was actually in Colombia, in Cartagena, where we prepared the design for a new container terminal for the Flota Mercante Gran Colombiana, which later was called Conticar. Our Long Beach office at the same time had been doing some work for the newly formed port society, Sociedad Portuaria de Cartagena, and we also had an association with a local company there. And one thing led to another. We did the container terminal design project out of our New York office. Later we were asked to do some work for the existing terminal in Manga in Colombia, and then one thing led to another, and a whole series of new projects came along over the years and has led to a very substantial workload that we now have in Colombia, which in turn led to us actually establishing our office in Bogota last year.
How did this contract come to Moffatt & Nichol?
As I say, it was a combination of two things. It was a combination of our association with two of the leading local consultants, and then it was also, I think a lot of it came from the reputation that our Long Beach office had for container terminal design and planning studies, where some of our leading designers there had actually been in contact with the Port Society in Cartagena, and done a number of assignments with them over the years. It was really Moffatt & Nichol's reputation for container design that probably led to the first element, and then following that it was the fairly innovative design that our structural department came up with that saved substantial costs on the Conticar project. And again, all of that led to a very long association in Cartagena particularly, and then other work that came along in Colombia afterwards.
How did we win the client's trust without having previous experience or offices in Latin America?
Partially it was our reputation in the container development field. At that time, Latin America was moving to improve its infrastructure in many countries, and there wasn't a lot of local experience on container design. So it was Moffatt & Nichol's reputation technically and publications that had been done, and the Latin Americans were basically looking for capabilities at high level. It was our association with our local consultants. Gomez Cajiao was one consultant, HMV was another in Colombia. We've had long-standing relationships with them over the years, and the combination of working at a high technical level with our US-based staff combined with the local consultants preparing the designs, doing the production work, that basically led to our clients having a high level of confidence in us, and also us being able to compete against other companies in the region.
What has been the key to gaining acceptance in the region, and particularly in Colombia?
In my opinion, it's a combination. One of the most important elements is communication. Bilingual staff, being able to work with our clients in their own language. It's our technical capabilities, obviously, but if you can't communicate those technical capabilities to the client, it doesn't help greatly. It's our association with local companies, and it's also an understanding of cultural differences, and the way things are done. It's working internationally, particularly in Latin America, is as exciting. You see, there's a sense of satisfaction when you're providing infrastructure that you know is of great benefit to the country in terms of economic development, helping them with exports, helping them reduce transportation costs. And it's understanding all of that and working with the clients to develop successful projects. Another element which is very important is understanding that in Latin America pretty much all port development is privately funded. The sponsors have to come up with their own funding for these projects. So the bottom line is that you can come up with the best design in the world, but if it can't be financed, and made viable financially, it's not going to get done. So understanding the pressures of the bottom line cost has also been very, very important.
How did the idea of expanding our offices to this region come about?
It basically came up by the increasing workload over time. We established our office in Panama in 2006. Prior to that, we'd had a 4-year contract with the Panama Canal on the expansion project for the canal, and we saw strong prospects of work, first of all in Panama. At the same time, we were developing strong relationships in Colombia. Work was coming up in Peru, and we were also doing a lot of due diligence work in the region for the multilateral banks. So it made sense to establish our first foothold essentially as a permanent office in Panama. Later, as the workload increased, we established our office in Colombia. We were also working in Brazil with strong prospects there, so a decision was made to also establish the office in Brazil. So all 3 offices, really, all 3 regional centers, are the result of increasing workload, the necessity and the desire to work with local companies, and also the desire of our clients to have us close by, to be able to respond very quickly when a question came up, to have bilingual staff capabilities, to be able to work very effectively with our US offices. And part of what we did in order to increase the efficiency of communications is we established a pattern of working with several of our US offices and making sure that the offices where we had technical links to our Latin American offices had the bilingual capabilities and the staff available to be able to work very smoothly with both the local consultants and also with our local permanent staff in the 3 offices.
What opportunities do you foresee for Moffitt Nickel in this region in the coming decade?
I think this is the decade for Latin America. If you'd have asked me that question 15 years ago, I would have said the prospects were limited. But since the mid-90s, Latin America has got on track in terms of economic growth. It's Colombia, Peru, Brazil, Panama have all got very, very strong economic growth prospects. All of those countries avoided, to a large degree, the financial crisis that occurred in 2008, 2007, 2008, and continue to move ahead. No infrastructure development had really happened with any real priority in Latin America, probably up until about the late 90s, mid-90s to late 90s. So now, in order to compete in world markets, in order to get exports to the markets, there's a lot of requirements for infrastructure, and the 3 or the major Latin American countries have all got very, very substantial waterfront development projects that Moffitt Nickel can participate in and is participating in.
And what makes Moffitt Nickel stand out in this region?
I think it's our understanding of client needs, our responsiveness, it's having the local offices there, and it's also innovative design. One of the things, on a purely personal basis, for me, it's been very exciting. I've been with Moffitt Nickel now for quite some number of years, but it's very exciting to see our structural design teams, our container design teams, always at the forefront of innovation, both in design, which converts directly to savings to our clients, which goes right back again to the bottom line and financial viability. And it's understanding the whole package that's needed in order to make a project successful, rather than just producing a design and saying, okay, this is it, it doesn't really matter what it's going to cost, that's it. So I think it's a combination of innovation, communication, responsiveness, all of the things that are vital to any client, and then understanding the client needs and working in partnership with our clients. One of our contract that we have in Cartagena, for example, with the Port Society now, that's essentially a long-term contract based on work orders. And we work as a team. They have their own engineering division. They have some extremely capable people working with them, as do the Panama Canal when we work with them. So it's the ability to go in there and work as part of their team, rather than to go in there and just say, here is a design package, please review it. We actually develop our projects in conjunction with our clients in Latin America. And that's something we see, as I say, we see it in Panama, we see it in Colombia, we see it in Peru, and we see it in Brazil. It's the ability to work with them directly and develop the project as we go ahead, transfer those skills, have local staff who are able to take over responsibility and take responsibility for projects over time, and generally, as I say, work as part of a very powerful team. And that's, to me, that's been a big part of our success.
Very good. Thank you.